key to achieving any physical fitness goal. So today's video is going to be all about TDEE, and that is just a fancy way of saying how many calories we're burning in a day. So the pronunciation is basically Total Daily Energy Expenditure. And you guys don't have to remember any of these, but they're just here to make it easier and a little bit more visual for you guys. So let's dive into it. And the main reason why you actually have to understand TDEE and what it actually is that when it comes to fat loss, muscle gain, or body recomposition, we have to manipulate calories in our favor. So, for example, when it comes to fat loss, we need to be in a calorie deficit. When it comes to muscle gain, we need to be in a calorie surplus if we want to give ourselves the best conditions. And if we want to burn fat and gain muscle at the same time, we have to be at our maintenance calories for body recomposition to happen. And to understand this, we simply have to nail down what our TDEE is, so we can actually make adjustments in our daily calories to achieve these different goals. And the first thing that we're going to look at is simply basal metabolic rate, BMR. And what this means is basically what your body requires to function. So if you were to wake up today and you would simply lay in bed for the rest of your day, you wouldn't eat anything whatsoever, you would still burn a pretty hefty amount of calories, because your brain is still going to require fuel, and there's many different systems going on in your body that are going to require energy. So this is usually like 60 to 70% of the amount of total calories we burn, but we'll get into that more. We'll get into that later when I'll actually show you guys how to calculate your TDEE. And the next one is simply going to be NEAT, and that is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And like I said, you guys don't have to remember these things, but this is just a fancy way of saying like any activity that's not exercise related. So that could be walking, driving, taking your bike to work, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. All of these things that are basically movement but isn't like intended exercise. So if you're walking with your children, that would be a great example. And this is one of the most important ones when it comes to fat loss, because what makes NEAT so good for fat loss is that we're burning calories, but it doesn't increase our hunger to the same extent that exercise does. So for example, if you go for a run and you just had something to eat before, you would still likely be hungry when you're back from that run, simply because your body is going to require calories. And that is why NEAT is so incredibly effective when it comes to fat loss. So if you want to lose more weight, take the stairs, go for walks, ride your bike to work, all of that good stuff. And the next one is EAT, and that is exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is pretty much the same thing as NEAT, but this is just like if you're going to the gym, if you're going for a run, if you're training for a marathon, whatever it might be, any type of exercise. So this one is, people usually underestimate how much calories they're burning during exercise, and the NEAT component is usually like 2 times the amount of our EAT component. And obviously this is going to be way different for different people, but just keep that in mind, that most of our burned calories are actually coming from NEAT and not the actual exercise that we're doing. And the final one is going to be TEF, that is the thermic effect of food. And what means by that is basically when we're eating something, our body has to actually digest that food, and it has to extract energy and micronutrients from it. So that is usually like 10% of our total TDEE. So that is not important to remember, but I will say one thing, and if you guys have been keeping up with my Instagram stories, is that I love to talk about how efficient protein is for fat loss, and that is for multiple reasons. And one of the main things is that protein is the hardest micronutrient to break down into actual energy. So when we're consuming 4 calories of protein, the net amount is actually 3.3 calories after the body has digested that and absorbed the energy from it. And at the same time, protein is the most satiating micronutrient. So I really want you guys to think about that. Protein is the most satiating micronutrient. It helps us preserve muscle, and it's the hardest for the body to break down into energy, making it a great component when it comes to weight loss and preserving muscle mass. So that is a little bit of a side benefit, and why I love keeping protein so high when it comes to dieting for myself and my clients. Now the next part is simply going to calculate your TDEE. And the most easiest way is simply going to TDEE.com, and you can just put in your metrics, whether that's, you simply have to type in your weight, your height, your activity level, and it will calculate it for you. And I will say this, that even if you're using my formula right here, or if you're going to TDEE.com to get your number, it's not going to be 100% accurate. So we will never have the exact right number, and that's totally fine. We simply want this as a starting point. So if you're starting at, let's say right here, we got, I calculated my own TDEE, and I will explain that later, but let's say the starting point is 2,640 calories. So that is my maintenance calories. And let's say I start eating that for a week, but I notice that my weight is going up. Then this number was too high. And it's pretty common that the number is too high or too low, but that's not a problem because we will have to make adjustments as we go by. So, and another thing I will say is that it's better to underestimate your activity than overestimate it, because we always tend to overestimate these kind of things. So let's dive into how actually go about calculating it. And I will, like I said, put the link to TDEE.com in the description. And a pretty straightforward and easy way to calculate your TDEE is simply taking your body weight. So in my case, it's 146 pounds. And it's very important that you guys do this calculation using pounds. So if you're a person that using kilos like me in regularly, you have to use a converter to actually convert this kilo number into pounds. So my weight is 146 pounds. That is my body weight. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our body weight, in my case 146 pounds, times 10. So that's 1,760. And the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to use our activity number. So like, as you can see right here, I've written out 4 different numbers, and this is basically if you're a sedentary person, this is if you're a person that's doing light exercise, this is if you're a person that's doing moderate exercise, and this is if you're a person that's like a athlete that's training multiple times per day. So in my case, I train around like 10 to 12 hours each day, but I still used 1.5 because I have a desk job. I'm mostly standing at my desk all day, so I'm not really burning that many calories throughout the day. Whereas if I would be working as a mailman, I would walk way more. So then it would probably be better to pick the 1.7 or 2 right here. So like I said, it's always best to underestimate these things. So in my example, my activity goal, I picked 1.5. So then I take my body weight times 10, then I take it times 1.5 because that is my activity level, and then I get my maintenance calories. So my maintenance calories is 2,640. Now what do we do with that? That totally depends on our actual goal. So let's say that my goal would be I want to lose weight, then I need to be in a calorie deficit. So maybe we could remove 500 calories. So that would be 2,140 total calories. So that would be a daily deficit of 500 calories, making me lose weight in the long run if I actually stick to that calorie number. On the other hand, let's say that I want to do a body recomposition, and that is just a process where we're eating at our maintenance calories, and if we do it right, we're going to the gym as well. So if we execute this properly, we will actually lose fat and build muscle at the same time. However, we're going to build muscle at a slower pace compared to if we would be in a surplus. So if that was the case, I would simply stick to my 2,640 calories. On the other hand, if I wanted to maximize my muscle gains, then I would have to be in a surplus. But the downside of being in a surplus is that some of the fat is going to be fat gained that we have to lose in the future. So maybe I would start with a surplus of 200 calories. So that would mean that I would be eating 2,840 calories each day. So these are just a few examples, and taking it once more, if I were to recomp, I would have to stick to 2,640 calories. If I wanted to lose weight, I would have to stick to 2,140 calories. And if I was looking to build muscle in the best way possible, I would probably eat 2,840 calories. And notice that the surplus for building muscle is way lower than the deficit when it comes to fat loss, because if we would put the surplus as big as the deficit when it comes to fat loss, I would put on way too much fat. So we have to be really conservative when it comes to our calorie surpluses, because otherwise we're just going to pack on too much fat and a small amount is going to be muscle. So that is definitely something that we're wanting to avoid. And this is the way how you calculate your TDE, and this is why I'm such a huge fan of counting calories, because like I said, this is not going to be exact fact. We're likely going to have to make adjustments along the way. And if I'm a person that I'm counting my calories, so let's say that I start with my weight loss. I'm eating 2,140 calories every day and my weight is going down way too fast, then I can increase my calories, and that is very easy to do when you're calorie counting. On the other hand, let's say I start eating to 2,140 and my weight is not going down as much as I'd like, then I can simply reduce this number. So I can reduce it to 2,040 calories. So this is just a great way to achieve and make adjustments towards any fitness goal. And hope this helps, and remember to calculate your TDE and have a good one.